Hi, Moriah from Mogility here. In this YouTube channel from Mogility, we will walk through safe and other agile topics. In this video, we're going to be talking through lasting behavior change. So, to kick this off, I was thinking over the weekend about this book that I had read a while back. I want to say I read this a couple years ago. This book is The Power of Habit, and it's written by Charles Duhigg. It is a fantastic book. I cannot recommend it enough. And this book doesn't directly correlate to agile transformations, but it pertains. And when I was thinking through this book, I was thinking about agile transformations and how the concepts found in this book really do correlate to the changes that we try to implement by agile coaches and even by leadership, by introducing the concepts found within agile. So, to get into this, though, the topics that I want to cover from the book. So there's a lot of content in this book. This is a great book. Definitely recommend reading it. But the two things that I really felt stood out to me are the topics over on the right hand side. So sandwiching new behaviors and then the elephant and the rider. All right, so sandwiching new behaviors. What is meant by this? So the book talks about this scenario where this new song at the time by Outkast came out. It's called Hey Ya. It's a great song. Definitely check it out. Showing my age. But what was happening was these researchers and marketers from radio stations, they were saying, okay, this is going to be a top hit. And they knew this based on, several key factors that they were looking into themselves. So these radio stations started playing the song Hey Ya by Outkast. And what they saw was the opposite. People were literally changing the radio station when the song came on. That is not what they were hoping for. And so they looked into this further and they realized this concept, right, where if you're introducing a new behavior, you sandwich it. So, you have on the right hand side the top of the bread, and then you have all the new yummy stuff inside, and then on the bottom is, the same, bread that they're used to, right? So with this concept, what they did is they would play a song that was familiar, that was a top hit already. Maybe it was by Celine Dion or whoever. And then they would play Hey Ya, and then they would play another top hit song, right? And so what they saw by doing this is that people stayed tuned. They were listening to the song. And not only that, but Outkast song Hey Ya, it blew up. This song was a top hit and people loved it. And over time, they ended up, they didn't have to do this tricky, marketing thing where they were introducing, sandwiching the song anymore. What they were doing was just playing the song after a while. But how does this pertain to agile teams and us implementing this agile transformation, this new mindset, this new cultural change within an organization? Well, it pertains heavily in the aspect of really getting to know your team. So, far too often I see peers and people within the agile world assuming that everything within agile and the methodologies beneath it is brand new. And that's not true. Far too often, you have people who already are working in an agile way. Maybe it's not fitting exactly within the methodology because they don't know the methodology, but they're doing some of the components. Some of it's already familiar. The bread on the outside is already familiar to them. It's the stuff in the middle that you, as an agile coach or a leader or a manager or whoever, that you are trying to help the teams understand and implement this new change. So, an example that I can throw out there. So, imagine you are a scrum master, and scrum master is a team coach, right? So, you understand the intricacies as a team coach of the scrum values and the scrum principles, the iteration events, and the things that really make scrum teams successful. And it's not those things, it's not those processes and tools, because in agile, that it's, collaboration and communication over the processes and tools. So, what I mean by that is you understand the steps to take, which will, over time, make the team successful in their collaboration and communication by understanding the intricacies of the methodology. So, say that you join a team and they are a team that is used to taking in requests. Maybe they are an operational team, maybe they're a middleware team, maybe they're infrastructure or cyber and security, whatever the team is that is not a typical team that works with product owners. So this team is used to taking in work requests, and they do this in a myriad ways. They, get messages through whatever tool is used internally, Microsoft Teams, Skype, Slack, whatever, email. And when they get these requests, they are used to, as a team, kind of discussing what's coming in and figuring out, priorities. Sometimes they have to maybe do an email chain with a couple other people and just kind of ask, hey, what's the priority on this? Like how, when are you expecting this by, right? Like just trying to figure that out themselves. So essentially what they're doing is they're building a backlog themselves. They're understanding priority themselves. And within their own mind, they are doing some form of estimation and even refinement. But this might not be tracked in a system, and this might not be something that they're used to doing formally or putting labels behind these things. So what you do is you ask the team, hey, can you just loop me in anytime you get a new request? And so the team starts doing this, and what you're doing is exactly what they're doing alongside them. So you're building out this backlog, you're following up, and you're having conversations. And so then you try to quickly get in and have a meeting with the team. So you pull the team in, you have a meeting with them, and you're like, okay, these are the requests that came in over the last 24 hours or, whatever that time frame is. But you want to do it quickly because this team is used to jumping in and starting on the work, right? So you don't want to hold them up. You don't want to, tell them, oh, wait, don't work on anything. You want to get in as quickly as possible, even if the work's already started. So what you want to do though in this meeting is just ask them questions about the work. How much effort is this? Are there any unknowns? Are there any risks? Are there any, dependencies? Like just really asking good questions around the work itself. So that way you can do a couple things. You want to understand the size or the effort of the work. Is this, the size of an epic? Is this something that's going to take us a quarter to complete? Is this the size of like a feature? Is this something that we can get done in like a sprint in 2 weeks? And then, from there, really understanding the work that goes into those larger pieces. And sometimes you have to do this backwards. Sometimes you might have a story, something that's going to take a day or less. And then you're asking, okay, well, what does this roll up to from leadership? Like, what is the larger picture item? And maybe they don't know. Maybe you have to go back to the individual who sent the request in and ask more questions so that way you can start to create this strategic vision chain of work that goes into the larger components that maybe the team wasn't originally aware of. And so this right here, though, this is sandwiching new behavior with the team. So you're not coming in and saying, oh, I'm going to teach you guys how to do story estimates or how to do story mapping. You're just coming in and saying, hey, this work came in, talk me through it. And then over time, the team starts to see this new process as a way that gives them more transparency into strategic visions. It gives leadership and other teams more transparency into the work. They have a cleaner and more clearly defined way for work to be coming in. They have an actual board, a Kanban board or a Scrum board that they can visually see their work on. And they have someone, you, if you're a Scrum Master, representing them and pushing back and removing obstacles when those things come up. All right, so that's enough on sandwiching behaviors. I hope you're not getting too hungry. If so, take a break, come back, and we will start to talk about the rider and the elephant. So how does the rider and the elephant, or the elephant and the rider, what does this mean? And how does this pertain? All right, so the elephant and the rider might not be a new topic to you. You might have already heard about this. So this is, yes, it's a topic in the book by Charles Duhigg called The Power of Habit. However, this was originally introduced by, I believe his name is Jonathan Haidt. He's a psychologist. And what this talks about, though, is the elephant. So the larger, more stubborn, more difficult to change directions or change courses. That's the emotions. That's your emotional side, right? So You want to introduce a new change, and after a while, emotionally, it is not fun anymore. Your emotions take over, and you decide not to move forward with that change. The writer, though, the writer is the logical side, the more analytical side, the one that knows that the change in the end is going to be beneficial, but they're much smaller. I'm sorry, but if you look at this picture to the right, who's going to win? If this elephant decides it wants to go its own way, the writer really isn't going to be able to do much to direct this elephant in the direction that it wants to go. So, this pertains though in regard to an agile transformation because when you first kick off agile, more often than not, what you find is this excitement and this drive from everybody to do all the things and know all the things and, make things nice and pretty and tidy. But oh boy, when things go wrong or when they get overloaded, because it's going to happen, what people do is they go back to their natural instincts. They let emotion take over. They go into, that zombie drive mode where, people often say, like, oh, I was in zombie mode and I don't even know how I got to work today, right? Well, that's what happens. We get overloaded. We, get into this mode of we have to get this done right now. We're firefighting, whatever that is. And we go back to what the elephant already is comfortable with. Because, like I said, when you joined this agile team, they were already a successful team. They were already doing the things. They just lacked some key components to help them be more successful, to help insulate them more, to help provide them with more rewards as they are working. So, the book though doesn't leave you with just the elephant in the rider story, and this is the key component for agile teams. So this is threefold. So when you're introducing a new change as the rider to the elephant, it is important that you tap into the emotion. It's important that you remove obstacles and that you shorten the distance. So let's translate this into agile transformation world. So if I'm tapping into the emotion of the team or the group or the leaders, it's important that I understand the goal and I understand how this goal is going to benefit the specific group in which I am talking to. If I'm talking to leadership, the goal is slightly different than the goal would be for the agile team. And no, the goal for the agile team isn't just that leadership is happy. The goal for the agile team is that they have, less things that are impeding their work. They have less dependencies before they start their work. They have more clarity before they begin working on the items. They have better working relationships with other teams due to this clarity, due to this new workflow, this new way that work is coming into their system or just into, their hands, really. And removing obstacles, that is removing the things that impede the goal from being successful. So if you know that leadership, the goal for them is to have, better quality of work, new value, going out the door faster, then you want to make sure that you are removing any obstacles that impedes this from happening. And then the next thing is shortening the distance. So how do you do that? So what you want to do is you create kind of this timeline or roadmap, so to say. And you know that the end goal, it might take a year or two, right? But you don't have to put time on it. You just say, this is the end goal. And then you kind of break that down into milestones, things to look for, to stop and celebrate and say, wow, this thing happened. And now I have even more confidence that our end goal is going to be possible. And when those little milestones, when those things are accomplished, you stop and you make a big deal about it. You celebrate it with everybody that you can. You talk about it and you tell everybody about it because doing that, doing those things, tapping into the emotion, removing the obstacles, shortening the distance, and then also tapping back into the emotion once that distance, that small distance has been reached, you are going to see lasting success and lasting changes within your agile transformation that you might not have realized before. All right, well, I hope this video was helpful. Again, this was Moriah with Mogility, where we provide content related to agile and safe.